Hello, Mr. Dean.
Greetings. We decided for this trip, because you supported us, that we would document our travels to Myanmar for the Feast of Tabernacles. We thought it'd just be a nice video, especially for those who may be considering traveling to Myanmar for the feast in the future. With all that being said, we hope you enjoy. We left Brisbane Airport on Thursday evening, the 10th of October. After a long layover in Singapore, we finally arrived in Yangon, Myanmar. We were instantly shuttled from the airport to the 10-mile hotel and stayed there a couple of hours. The hotel was great, with good air conditioning and great Wi-Fi. At 6 p.m. that evening, we finally got to meet up with Davidson Lei and So Loe, who was deacon of the Sakanji village congregation. The next day, we waited several hours at the bus station. Because there was a religious festival going on at the time, the bus was going to take even more hours to show up. So instead, we hired a truck to take us to Myanmar. It was quite the adventure for city slicker tourists such as ourselves to be in. So, we are currently on our way to Myanmar, is it? Myanmar, where we will be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. And what better way to travel in Burma than this mode of transportation? First class, ladies and gentlemen. 2 hours in, every single seat has fallen down, except for my one. It's only a matter of time. We arrived straight at our hotel and had dinner that night with Mucho and Epo. We had our first visit to the village on Sunday, the night of the Feast of Tabernacles, where we introduced ourselves to the people of the Sakanji village. I'm excited to spend this feast with you.
Yasakudoma.
Yasakudoma.
Le.
Le.
Yagamababu.
Yagomababu.
Yukolafu.
Yuthalafu. After that, Mucho, Epo, Aaron and myself went back to Myanmar, where we rested whilst the people were keeping the night of the feast at the village. We weren't allowed to enter the village due to the government wanting to keep us safe. It is currently the Feast of Tabernacles right now, and we are on our way to the village. I'm gonna give a sermon. Are you excited?
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's good. Finally, the start of the Feast of Tabernacles. We went to the village and had services. It was very interesting and different from your regular service. Everyone sang hymns with their Quran language. We were also blessed to have special music every single day of the feast. Then, there were the messages. We hoped that the brethren were inspired by them. Of course, they all had to be translated, so hopefully they could understand what we were saying through the interpretation.
Why we need Jesus Christ to come back and set his government.
Life in the city is very different to life in western areas such as Cincinnati. Firstly, everyone is riding motorbikes. Pollution and markets are everywhere, and it is much more populated and incredibly hot and humid. I mean it. If you weren't constantly fanning yourself, you'd be drenched in sweat. Life in the village was calmer and more peaceful. The brethren do their utmost to please you and satisfy all of your needs. They prepare delicious foods and have you sit at the highest tables. They offer the best they've got. For entertainment, the brethren like to play sports, such as soccer, kickball, and volleyball. They also really like to sing, and usually after services on a non-holy day, we'd have a miniature concert. When gazing upon the situation of the church, it is without question that Mr. Davidson Lei is the glue holding everything together. This is due to the fact that he is able to connect the brethren in Myanmar to the rest of the world by knowing English.
But I could find some sermon that have a transcript, so I can print it out and I can translate to my own language. Sometimes in Burmese, sometimes in Korean. And as I live in UK, I did that regularly because we have weekly Sabbath services that we have to do that. Otherwise, solo I can't do anything.
Davidson is also the man responsible for coordinating the feast in Myanmar, giving messages, special music, and organizing extra activities himself. He currently lives in the United Kingdom, which leaves Solo A to take care of the brethren. The biggest barrier was the language differences in Myanmar. There's no doubt that we could not have even gone to the feast if it wasn't for Davidson to translate for us and to translate our messages for them. However, Davidson strives to try and get the brethren to learn more English by having them take advanced English classes in the near future. In 2020, Davidson plans to bring his whole family down to live in Myanmar for 1 whole year. During this time, he has plans of creating a church building which will make services so much easier to keep and will be more inviting for any brethren guests that want to visit.
To celebrate a Feast of Tabernacle, we do need a shelter because here we have just only temporary shelter. We do not have a good accommodation. So for that, we have to think about that. Unless we have a shelter, we cannot gather together. So this building is for temporary, and we built this building, the similar building for 3-4 times already.
For the duration of the Feast of Tabernacles, we did many things, from visiting the beach to touring a Buddhist temple and also eating out almost every night. However, before we knew it, the 8th day arrived and it was time to say goodbye to everyone as we took off to go home to Australia safe and sound. Overall, we had a wonderful time meeting the amazing brethren, and it was so eye-opening seeing what life was like down in Southeast Asia. Sure, the dirty conditions, language barrier, as well as the hot and humid temperature didn't make the whole experience a picnic ride, but it was an adventure. An amazing group of brethren that we should strive to support as a church.